もう遅れちゃった。ごめんよ。ちょっと甘く見てました、残業。はい、こんなす。面白おかしく生きる。面白おかしく毎日生きる VTuber、甘さなすびだよ。いやー、今日も残業だったよ。疲れた。今日はそんな長く配信はしないかな。まあ、昨日と同じぐらいかな。それぐらい俺の記憶が持てばいいけどね。というわけで、また今日なんか現在の時刻を入力するらしいね。今何時？ 10 時32分。わっしょい。待って。何？始まる前にちょっと一言いいですか？ゲームを起動したときに2回ともちゃんと時間設定してくれてありがとうございます。もちろん。ほとんどの人はこのステップを真剣に捉えないんです。彼らはただ12時のままに切り上げてしまう。そうなの？かわいそうに。あなたは実際に時間を合わせてくれましたし、私はそれに感謝しているんです。そう言ってあなたがこの体験を大切にちゃんと注意を払っているっていうことだと思うんです。あなたが合わせた時間が正しいかどうか知るすべはないですけど。知らないんかい。そうだ、こうしましょう。あなたは協力的ですし、どうせだったら次にこのゲームを起動してこの画面が表示されたらあなたの一番好きな時間を設定してください。どうぞ設定したい時間を好きに選んで正しい時間でなくても構いませんよ。あなたがちゃんと協力してくれたからですよ。それじゃあそろそろゲームに戻りましょうか。任せてくださいよ。ラスはちゃんとやるよ。ちゃんと時間ぐらいは設定してあげるよ。じゃあ続きをやっていこう。追加コンテンツだって。楽しみやんね。追加コンテンツ。超楽しみ。
This is the story of a man named Stan.
さて、
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
昨日ちょっと終わった後、あれゲーム終了してもちゃんと追加コンテンツ残るよねっつったら、残ってるんですね、これが。
Oh, new content?
Yeah.
What does that mean, new content?
新コンテンツってどういう意味？どういう意味だろうね。416。今日は新コンテンツを探っていくよ。今日もね、ご飯食べながらやります。許して。
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable
Let's go.
Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
これ思ったんだけど、ゲームが出てから9年経ったわけじゃん。去年発売されたから、このウルトラデラックスが。もともとウルトラデラックスとかそういう続編とか作る気あったのかな？なかったと思うな。あったんならすごいけど。でも、もし 商業的な、ね、成功により、この追加コンテンツ、このウルトラデラックスエディションを出したっていうけどさ、9年もかかったんだぜ。楽しみしかないっしょ。もともとのゲームはどうやら昨日やった部分だけまだ見てない人は見に行ってね。昨日の部分だけ、エンディングと、まだ踏めてないエンディングがあるぐらいらしい。というわけで、新コンテンツへ GO!
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
お前が一番楽しみなんじゃないか。長えな、これ。ローディング画面入んねえのかよ、これ。
Say initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
行こうぜ。ニューコンテンツ。
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
サークルだね。すごい雑なサークルだ。工事現場とかで見る。工事現場とかで見る。テープでただサークルが入ってる。スペースを押すと36。スペースを押すとジャンプする。おじゃあここからジャンプも含めてくる要素も追加されるってことだから。Yes。もうジャンプできないんだけど。終わり？田中さんこんばんは。お久しぶりじゃん。久しぶり。来てくれてありがとう。今ね、ザ・スタンリー・パラブルウルトラデラックスエディションやってる。なんか2013年に発売されたゲームで、それがすごいヒットしたから、追加コンテンツ、込みでなんかゲーム出して。終わり？ゼロの文字の画質ひどくね？さっき36から1まで綺麗だったじゃん。なんかゼロ汚くね？何ピクセルよ、お前。なんもないよ。
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
もちろん、もっとあるはず。いや、こっからジャンプ付きの物語が紡がれる。
I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
Excitingだよ、これ。
New content. Then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there.
Yeah.
Well, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good.
Easy.
Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
ていうか、ジャンプするサークル以外でジャンプできないんだけど。おい、ジャンプ返せ。新コンテンツを遊んでくれてありがとう。
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always.
いいんじゃない？
What do you say, friend?
お前、昨日まで俺のことバカにしてたよね。友達に言われる筋合いないんだけど。 昨日来たかったんですけど、用事があって。まあ、アーカイブは残ってるからね。暇な時にでも見てくれよ。戻っちゃったよ。なんか変わってる。入り口が変わってる。月曜日嫌い。いいね。わかる。新コンテンツ。お。
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
で、こっちで物語の続きができるって感じで。いや、いいよ。見ます。ありがとう。いや、昨日も波乱万丈だったから。そう、このゲームめちゃくちゃめたい。めっちゃ好き。こういうゲーム。はい、行こう行こう。はい、はい、新コンテンツ見せろ。君が作り出した新コンテンツを見せなさい。ローリング長くない？これが新コンテンツ？終わりは決して終わりじゃない。終わりは絶対に終わりじゃないの方がいいかな。どっちが適正なんだろうね。ここも日本、
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Wow. いかにも50代のおっさんが思いつき
I
そうなこと。
call it the memory zone.
走馬灯。
It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life
走馬灯。
whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
走馬灯。俺はこっから死ぬのかな。バーチャル服装変わってる。そう。ビジュアップでしたんですよ。いいでしょ。ナスイケメンになっちゃった。
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, waste.
2013年のテレビってこんなんだったっけ？ちょっと古いんじゃないかな。2013年にしてはこのテレビは。すげえな。すごいな。こんな髪型がすごい好き。ありがとう。これちょっとこだわった。服装もちょっとこだわったよ。なめにすごいな。こんないっぱい賞をもらってるんだ。ニューヨークタイムズはちょっと言い過ぎかな。ニューヨークタイムズってゲームの話するのかな？しないよね、多分。新聞とかあんま読まんから分からんけど。死んだ。死んでる姿が。ロサンゼルスタイムズ。表示されるわけねえな。俺がここで読めと。座らせてよ。座らせて。BGM 何これ。
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
エレベーターのコンテンツは1時間もかかりませんでした。あれは10分ぐらいで終わりました、ちなみに。 新聞読みます。今時読む人っているんかな。メモリゾーンメンテナンス。すごいこういう細かいとこ入れてくるの好きなんだよね。オリジナルリメイク。ボタンがある。いいね。レビューがまだある。
Here's another moving passage,
GameSpot.
this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
お、開いた。え、マイクラってやらないんですか？マイクラはやんない。どうやって入るのね。どうやって入るんですか？マイクラはね、もうやんない。苦手。ああいうのサンドボックス系のゲームが苦手かな。これバグった？あっちの扉が開いたんだけどいけないんですけど。
These were simpler times,
おう、
Stanley.
下の扉か。
But I wouldn't give to go
メン
back
テナンスし
to
て。
have it all over again. Wait, hang on.
Hmm?
I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
何これ。誕生日おめでとう。ありがとう。最高の誕
Oh
生日
no.
だ。
God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the
Steam?
online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years.
や
I
めようよ。
can't even imagine what's
闇
been
だよ。
collecting down here.
闇。
Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't
No, no. Steam のレビューは辛辣だよ。そう、誕生日おめでとうございます。ありがとう。歌見た聞いた？歌見た出したんだよ。時間があるとき、それも見てほしいな。まだ反省点はいっぱいあるけど、出したことに関しては後悔してないから、ぜひ見てってくれよ。怖いな、Steam のレビューは怖いよ。おお。あ、いいねあるじゃん。けど、大きく。指ダウンが。ローワーそう。ローワーだよ。
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
の君が俺をバカにしたからお前もバカにされるべき。これは真っ当なレビューだよ。うん、そう。ナスをバカにするやつは俺が倍返しにしてバカにするから。了解です。聞きます。ありがとう。ありがとう。
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
お前絶対語彙力のあるメンヘラだろ。 なかなか珍しいぞ、その組み合わせは。ちょっと誇れよお前、もうちょっとそれ。語彙力のあるメンヘラはそうそういないぞ。ごめんなさい、もうそろそろ寝ないと怒られてしまうのでアーカイブ見ます。ローワーも聞きます。おやすみなさい。ありがとね、来てくれて。いっぱいいい夢見てくれよな。
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
今何でもって言ったよね。あとこの、支えられてなくない君。いったい。あれ。
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. Got the logic of elimination working backwards. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
1週間?
Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed that vessel.
反省しろ。
Oh, hello. It's
Hello.
you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been
時計止まっちゃったよ。
I've had
壊れちゃったよ。
so
電池切れ
much
たよ。
time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you? I
そう
felt
ね。
nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deep
バイ
remote.
バイ。お、死んだ？おーい。死んだか。あ、びっくりした。何爆発するここ。ほうき？
But they didn't understand the game
Oh,
was
man,
never
I
meant to be
thought,
funny. It
yo.
was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in a new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no...
今回こそ死んだ？ボタン、あ、生き返った？
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
やばいやばいやばい、頭痛いそう。どれぐらいの月日が流れたんだろう。おおおお。ビルの崩落が始まった。お、まだそっか。おお、ノーノーノーノー。うわ、そこまた取んの。やだ。虫は嫌だ。なんか生えてきたって。どれぐらい時間経ってんねん。いや、ここまで育つのに1年もかかるのか。いや、そうだから、そうか。それぐらいかかるか。なんか、植物。まあ、君の死を見届けられなかったけど、ご愁傷様。何が起きてんだ、マジで。ボタンが壊れた、もしかして。ボタン壊れた。押せる？ボタンが壊れてしまった。おう、外がある。外へ行こう。おー、世界終わったね。さっきまでここ海じゃなかったっけ？海だったはずなんだけど、僕は一 一人取り残されてしまったようだ。自由だー。これが昨日見てた光景かな。自由やったー。自由だー。しーし。いける。もっと自由をよこせ俺に。自由だーっつって2日後に死ぬパティ。これどういう世界の終わり方？砂まみれになるの世界が。お新コンテンツ？新コンテンツさん。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
おお。ニューコンテンツ？新しい新コンテンツ。
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
言ったね。君死んでたんじゃなかったの？あれロード入った。さっきのエレベーターじゃん。あれ？さっきのエレベーターじゃん。またジャンプサークルに飛ばされるの俺。
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
凝ったね。凝ったね君。
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
なんか新しい区分が始まりそうだから次の配信しようかなそれは。今日の配信はちょっと短かったけど、本当に思った以上に短かったけど、今日はちょっとここまでにさせてもらおうかな。ちょっとこの先行ったらちょっとしばらくやめれなそうだから、ちょっと一旦ここまでにしとくわ。じゃあ今日はちょっと短い配信になってごめんだけど、ちょっと新しい区分までたどり着けたから今日はここまでにしようかなって感じだね。じゃあ見に来てくれた人ありがとう。登録と下の X のリンクのフォロー、リンク先の